Week 9 of the NFL season, Thursday Night Football, 30 minutes. Let's go! The webcast, All Sports One Web. What an amazing week in the sporting world that we've had this past week. We kicked it off Monday, which was the sports equinox, where you had NFL, MLS, NBA, NHL all going on at the same time. World Series was concluded. Congratulations to the Texas Rangers getting their first championship in franchise history. Leaving only a handful of teams yet to win the World Series. Sorry, Padres. And we had MLS, which, I don't think we've ever talked about this. And I found this out and I just didn't get to talk to you about it. And I really wanted to. The MLS had changed the format for this year where they're doing a 3-game first round after the kind of seeding falls in place, kind of similar to the NBA where you do those 1-game playoffs to figure out that 7/8 seeding. And they're doing a 3-game thing where it's a win is a win. So if you win 2-0 and then you win 1 and you lose 1-0, it's a 1-1. You play a 3rd game playoff there after the fact. What's your thoughts on that? How do you feel about that?
I kind of like it. MLS is doing a good job to gain momentum. Obviously, the Messi move was huge for them. First MLS player to win the Ballon d'Or. Kind of special circumstances there. I don't think it'll happen again for a long, long time. I like to see them switching it up.
Yeah. Well, and also speaking of switching it up, the NBA kicks off its in-season NBA tournament this weekend. Pretty cool stuff. It's basically the same. They're still playing the 82 regular games, but these games that are in the in-game tournament or in-season tournament mean a little bit more. They have a group play based on that. Then they'll go to the knockout stages after that. But everyone's still playing 82 games. So it's a very interesting mix. The MLS is kind of going more towards the American playoff structure. The NBA kind of going more towards the soccer structure. It's kind of cool to see it which way.
Adam Silver taking some notes out of the Champions League and stuff to try to make it more appealing to a greater audience.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So it is Thursday, which means NFL picks. We got Thursday Night Football coming up, but I had to get those out of the way because this is a rare time of the year when we get all of these sporting events. And here at the webcast, we like to be all-inclusive here, all sports, one web, and so we like to get into it. We did quite well last week, 11-5, a rebound week for us here. We do all of our picks on ESPN.com, so go ahead and get your picks in and pick along with us as we just hit the halfway mark in the NFL season. Week 9 picks this week, and we're kicking off with the Tennessee Titans and Will Levis going in to Steeler country to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight. Jacob, who do you got?
Yeah, so interesting matchup. Titans, another team with a different, an interesting quarterback situation, we could say. The Steelers, the hardest games to call of the entire year. I don't think you should just pick whatever you think of the Steelers game and then switch it, and you'll do better than most people. Steelers 2-2 at home and 2-1 away record. It's just completely split. They're not better necessarily either way on the road. Titans, however, 0-4 away. Absolutely abysmal. They're playing in one of the hardest places to play in the country. Matt Canada, the heavily scrutinized offensive coordinator, has I don't know if it was his decision or front office's decision. He's calling plays on the sideline now after 3 years up in the booth. They're just trying anything they can to get this guy to figure out how to do his job. Maybe he's in his 50s now. His eyes are going. He needs to get closer to the field. I don't know what's going on. But I think, like I said, the Titans are just so bad away. I think the Steelers pull this one.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers do have their biggest flaw maybe defensively is that rush defense, allowing one of the top 10 worst rush defenses in the NFL, which is surprising from a Steelers defense when you got the likes of TJ Watt wrecking havoc along the defensive line. But they're 3-point favorites in this one. I kind of expected Tennessee to be a little bit more active in the NFL trade deadline that ended Tuesday afternoon in more of a sense of getting rid of people.
Right.
Was DeAndre Hopkins going to go? Was Derrick Henry going to go? Reported a lot of interest over whether or not they would let either of those guys go. They both remain. Tennessee sitting at 3-4. Maybe they think that they can do something. Will Levis coming in and just heaving it up to DeAndre Hopkins. 3 ridiculous touchdowns, just a flick of a wrist, 50 yards, 50 yards, 50 yards to DeAndre Hopkins. He's open. He's not open. It doesn't matter. He's just flinging it. Micah Fitzpatrick not playing tonight for the Steelers, but I still think it's not going to be an issue. This is a defensive line that Will Levis did not play last week against and against the Falcons. And I think this week it's going to cause him some issues. And I got the Pittsburgh Steelers getting the win there. This game, early kickoff Saturday morning because it's taking place in Germany. Last time we saw the Chiefs, 5 turnovers against the Broncos. Miami, on the other hand, put the beat down on the New England Patriots for the second time this year. But both of these teams sit at 6-2, but who have they beaten? Only 2 out of those 12 teams have a winning record currently, and one of them is the New York Jets. Jets. And that was just because of that overtime win against the Giants, which we'll get into because what a game that was. The most impressive win, obviously, that win against Jacksonville down in Duval. So for Kansas City, can they bounce back against this Miami offense for you in Germany?
Yeah, this is a cool AFC matchup. Hopefully it's a good one in Germany. That's cool that the NFL has branched out to there after pretty much only playing in London. In terms of Europe, I think Patrick Mahomes has a much better game this week. I think last week against the Broncos was kind of a wake-up call. They've had in the last few weeks like a lot of close games where they just managed to win because they're just a better team than most teams, but they weren't necessarily like on point or playing really solid football. I think it is a wake-up call. The Dolphins are not very good away. Obviously, both these teams are playing away, and Kansas City has a little bit farther to travel. But I do think the Chiefs rebound after a bad loss to the Broncos last week.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see this because Kansas City's defense has kind of been what's been holding up this team. They've only scored over 20 points, I think, 2 or 3 times this season. That offense just can't get going fully. Obviously, when you have 5 turnovers, you're going to lose a lot of football games. They were still kind of in it against the Denver Broncos, but if they do that again this week, I think Miami will capitalize. They're just too good offensively. So you have that great deep threat from Miami and one of the best pass defenses currently in the NFL, only allowing 5.5 yards per attempt, the Kansas City Chiefs defense. So if that offense can rebound, I think that they will hold the Dolphins to a low enough points where they can get it over the line. So I agree with you. Let's go Chiefs in Germany, and we'll see if T Swift makes the trip to Europe or not. Joshua Dobbs has made the trip from Arizona to Minnesota. They now will travel to go take on the Atlanta Falcons, who benched Desmond Ridder after his turnover trouble. Taylor Heineke, after that was great. A couple weeks in Washington a couple years ago, MVP level play there. Can he repeat that now that he's the starter in Atlanta as they welcome the 4-4 Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah, you got to feel so bad for the Vikings. Like they obviously had that huge win against the 49ers a couple of weeks ago. Kirk Cousins, even
everyone beats the 49ers now, though.
Oh yeah, they needed that bye week for sure. They're happy to not be playing this week, so Brock can figure out how to stop turning the ball over. Yeah, but like I said, gotta feel bad for the Vikings. You know, they lose Justin Jefferson, but Kirk Cousins manages a couple wins without him. and they look like they're rolling. Their offensive line's playing super well, and then they lose Kirk Cousins, and this season looks like it's kind of a scrap. Tough game to call. I think I'm going to edge home team here. I think that's a little bit of a cop-out, but
yeah, I mean, we'll see how Jaren Hall can do. His, rookie quarterback first start in the NFL, going to be on the road in that nice stadium, Dome Stadium in Atlanta. So we'll see what they can do. We saw what Tennessee did to the Falcons last week, just throwing it up there. Maybe Addison can get on the end of some of these if Jaren Hall just decides to just chuck them up down the field. That offense still has some good pieces, even though Justin Jefferson isn't returning. But I think Bijan Robinson getting in the end zone last week, I think will help carry him through getting more touches there down by the goal line. I like Atlanta as well to get the win. Joshua Dobbs now leaves Arizona after they took that loss to Baltimore last week, which was really interesting. You're kind of hoping for some miracles here. They needed a touchdown, then a 2-point conversion, then an onside kick, then a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. They got the touchdown relatively quickly. They missed the 2-point conversion, but then they get the onside kick. They kick a field goal, try another onside kick, and Baltimore ends up running out the clock. So an interesting end to that one, but they fall to 1-7. They will go to Cleveland to take on the Browns, and Clayton Tune will get the start for Arizona now, rookie out of the University of Houston, 4-year starter there. He got a do-over junior year, so 5-year starter there at the University of Houston. But they got to take on Myles Garrett, who just every week, no matter if they're winning, if they're giving up a lot of points, if they're not giving up a lot of points, just seems to wreak havoc all over everyone that he's playing. And a rookie quarterback coming into Cleveland isn't that a nice little present for Myles Garrett to kind of go after,
just to chomp on. Cardinals, obviously their season is not they know they're not making the playoffs. They just wanted to get Joshua Dobbs out before the trade deadline. You think if they did do that Kyler Murray would be more of a lock-in to play, but again, their season is pretty much already over. I know that there's still mathematically a chance, but it's going to be tough. I hope Kyler Murray doesn't. It's a good thing if Kyler Murray doesn't play because, like you said, Myles Garrett is not a good opponent to play in one of your first games back, especially after Achilles or ACL injury. Excuse me. I'm going with the 97%. I like Browns here.
Yep, I like the Browns to bounce back after that loss to Seattle. They did get rid of Peoples-Jones during the deadline, but I don't think that's going to matter. We'll see if Deshaun Watson actually plays. He's still limited in practice, but I think PJ Walker will make amends and get the win if he is starting this week. The Rams, I don't know. Watching that Dallas game, obviously Dallas came out of that bye week on fire, just that beginning of the game, and trounced the Rams. The Rams were able to pull a little bit back, but I didn't understand. You could obviously see Matthew Stafford in a little bit of discomfort. Then they roll the Philly special out for him to make a diving catch into the end zone. You could tell he's clearly not okay. A diving catch, that thumb, I don't know if it's fully broken, sprained, or whatever, but he won't be playing in this game. They go to Packerland, where Aaron Jones is still limited in practice. Just take him out. Just put him on IR at this point, and we'll see what happens in 4 more weeks. This in and out thing, I think, is hurting him even more. They're 2-5 on the year. Their season is practically over, but can they get the win against the Rams at home this week?
Yeah, like you said, Matthew Stafford dealing with that sprained thumb. He's still listed as day-to-day. I think they're just kind of hoping and coping that somehow, some way, he will just be able to go. Obviously, their backup situation isn't a great one. I think Brett Rypien could still beat this Packers team. I think anyone could beat this Packers team right now. I think they're the worst team in the NFL at this moment. Wow. The Packers not scoring over 20 points in their last 5 games. I don't see them scoring 20 points here. And I think the Rams can score more than 20 points. And for that reason, I'm picking the Rams.
Wow, yeah. I mean, we just the last couple of games we're talking about rookie quarterbacks coming in. Obviously, Brett Ripon has been in and around the league, drafted by the Broncos, now in his first year with the Rams, I believe, first or second year with the Rams. So he has a little bit more game time experience. Almost the same as Jordan Love, really, if you could believe it. So I guess I will go with you. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua hopefully will get a bounce back game after their poor performances against the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go Rams. The Washington Commanders a couple weeks ago have Jonathan Allen coming out and just totally shit talking the team for losing year in and year out. And what do? They trade the other two stars on defense with him. But he gets to stay. That contract is too big, even though there was interest. He gets to stay. So it'll be very interesting to see what his attitude is as they travel to New England to take on Mac Jones, who, if you believe it or not, did something spectacular last week. And that is throw for 2 passing touchdowns for the second consecutive week for the first time in his career. How about that? It's going to be 54 degrees there in New England. A nice, good game, I think, for Mac Jones. And I'm riding the Patriots in this one. I think too much chaos in Washington. Sam Howell has performed pretty well. We've seen him hot and cold, though. They've also lost 4 of their last 5. They have one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL, allowing over 7.5 yards per attempt. We saw what Chicago did to them a couple weeks ago, and now they lose their pass rush. So right. I don't see how New England can't just give Mac Jones all the time in the world. Now that he knows what passing touchdowns look like, I think he'll get a couple more, and I'm rolling Patriots in this one.
I agree. I think Patriots going 1-1 the last couple of weeks against the good Dolphins, and Bills are still a good team. I know they've had a few shaky weeks. They're still a good team. Going 1-1 against those two teams, most teams in the NFL would be happy about. Commanders are always kind of tough to pick after they play the Eagles. They seem to match up pretty well against the Eagles for some reason. They're pretty much the only team to stop the brotherly shove. I think the brotherly shove has a comeback this week, though. But Commanders, they had that decent game against the Eagles a few weeks ago, going all the way into overtime. And then we picked them to beat the Bears because the Bears were 1-4 at the time, or whatever it was. They had one win. Then DJ Moore happened. And then they get smashed by the Bears. So I'm not going to let that good performance against the Eagles deter this pick. I do think Patriots.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Montez Sweat doesn't get to take that loss, but will he take a loss as a member of the Chicago Bears in New Orleans this week after that great performance for New Orleans against the Colts, putting up over 35 points? That offense maybe getting going. Rashid Shaheed, 3 receptions, 153 yards, doing his best DeAndre Hopkins impression this week as well. Great performance. They get to come home now and play a Bears team who got just dismantled by Austin Eckler and the Chargers. Never really in it. Justin Fields still not back yet. You got the Saints in the Big Easy?
Yeah, I do. I think we called it pretty well with how the Saints season is going. It wasn't looking so good for a little while. Obviously, again, the Kamara suspension in the beginning really didn't allow for their offense to gain momentum, and the first couple of games back with Kamara wasn't so good. Obviously, first time playing with Derek Carr. I think they're looking really good, though, now. It really started to click against the Jaguars. And I think they carry on that momentum and beat a pretty bad Bears team.
Yep, I agree. They got to keep pace in what is the worst division in football at the moment. Nobody is above 500. The Saints will go there with a win this week. Probably one of the best matchups, along with the Kansas City, Miami, and then Philadelphia and Dallas for Sunday Night Football. One of the best matchups of the week, Seattle traveling to Baltimore, where Lamar Jackson is 17-1 against NFC teams, playing Seattle a couple years ago and getting the win, but not necessarily playing that well. Only 42% completion percentage against the Seahawks. They add Leonard Williams at the deadline from the Giants to shore up that defensive line as well. But will it be enough to stop Baltimore in Baltimore this week?
I definitely don't agree with the 86%. I think it'll be a lot closer than that suggests. Yeah, like you said, this is going to be a really good matchup. Both teams on winning streaks. Seahawks coming off that close win against the Browns. Geno Smith struggled with 2 interceptions, but he honestly did better than most quarterbacks against the Browns defense this year. Ravens are looking really strong, and they're at home, though. I like Ravens here, but like I said, the 86% doesn't suggest how good and close this game is actually going to be, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's going to be closer, but I think I will agree with you and lean Ravens purely based on the fact that Ravens defense is just the whole package, only allowing 4.6 yards per attempt through the air. They're going to force Kenneth Walker to run it on the ground, but even that, I don't see them getting much production out of it. So I roll with the Ravens in this one. Tampa Bay goes to Houston in the battle of 2 quarterbacks with the college game day curse. Both went on their bye week to their alma mater to watch a college game day win. Oklahoma over Texas, Ohio State over Penn State, and neither have won an NFL game since returning. One of them will get it this weekend. Who do you got getting the win?
Man, this is a really tough game to call. Bucks obviously on a 3-game losing streak. I think everyone was surprised that they started so strong, 3-1, and they're looking more. Their record shows more with what everyone predicted them to be going into the year. I think CJ Stroud's still having an awesome rookie year. Obviously, the Texans giving the Panthers their first win. They're not going to be happy with that. I like Texans at home and CJ Stroud rebounding after that game against the Panthers, but honestly, I could be swayed any which way for this one. It's a tough game to call.
I know last week we said one of the biggest, at least I said anyway, the biggest issue for the Houston Texans this year has been converting field goals into touchdowns. They're able to get down the field, always getting 30 or 40 yards on a drive, but can they keep it going and get into the end zone? They didn't kick a single field goal against the Carolina Panthers. Panthers didn't score a single touchdown against the Houston Texans, but somehow the Panthers ended up victorious in that one. I think the Texans here will be able to get into the end zone and will hold up their end of the bargain and get the win here, pushing Tampa Bay to 3-5. I just think that offense for Tampa Bay just can't get going fully, and I like the Texans to just get that little bit extra. Can Carolina get that little bit extra, taking on Indianapolis after that thriller game last week for Indianapolis? They did end up on the wrong end of that one, but can they travel to Carolina and get a win for you?
I think they can. I think the Colts have done well despite their obviously Anthony Richardson being out for the year is a huge letdown for them. Man, there's so many quarterback problems in the NFL this year. It's crazy. Bryce Young still looking better each week. Like he's having a tough rookie season, but he doesn't really have that many weapons around him. I think the Colts beat a bad Panthers team.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss together seems like, Jonathan Taylor is getting a bigger role, but Zach Moss still getting production as well. I think they will lean on them. They can put up points, and I think with that running game going more and more, I think they'll be able to hold the ball enough. And for a team that didn't score a single touchdown last week, I think they're going to need them this week, and I don't think they'll get them. A team that really just needed a field goal last week from 40-odd yards is the New York Giants. 24 punts in that game against the Jets and -9 passing yards, a missed field goal near the end of regulation, and they still almost won that football game. I don't know how that is possible. On the other end, you had the Raiders, who, for nobody understands why, Jimmy G just loved throwing to the people on the sidelines more than the wide open wide receivers down the field. Devontae Adams could have had probably, 5 receptions for 150 yards as well, like DeAndre Hopkins and Rashid Shaheed. Instead, he has 1 reception for 11 yards as they took a L this week and fired Josh McDaniels. Finally, I think that was way overdue, but now the Raiders are going to be paying over $80 million to fired coaches between Josh McDaniels and Gruden. Excuse me. And where do they go from here? They get a Giants team, but are they in shambles?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're obviously in shambles. I think they'll welcome another team that's not doing so hot. Another matchup with both teams, like dealing with quarterback injuries and issues and everything. Hopefully Tyrod Taylor's okay. I know he went to the hospital, fixed that big hit by CJ Mosley. Raiders firing their head coach and their general manager, and then benching their starting quarterback on his birthday. His birthday's today. Happy birthday, Jimmy G. You're still beautiful. I don't know. This is going to be a bad game to watch. I don't think. I think Giants win, but who knows?
Yeah, I have no confidence in either of these teams. I just think the only thing I can lean my hat on maybe a little bit is kind of this, like what I like to refer to in soccer usually is the managerial bounce, where you change managers and for some reason the team just kind of gets re-galvanized and gets kind of a good work performance, not necessarily, great quality, but they put the work in, they put the focus in, they kind of reset themselves a little bit. They still got talent up and down the board. The Raiders do. When you look at Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, and any quarterback that goes into that would be loving to have that situation. 2022 passing rush leader, Devontae Adams, Hall of Fame wide receiver in your pocket. I mean, you can't ask for better. So Max Crosby has been playing great despite the 3-5 record. So I'm going to go with the home team in this one and roll with the Raiders. Actually,
sure.
Can I convince you? Okay.
Honestly, I don't know which one to call. I'm not going to watch this game.
Yeah, that's fair enough. A game that you're definitely going to be watching is the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Does the winner win the division for you?
No, I think Eagles still win the division, but I don't think it's really much of a debate because I think the Eagles are going to win the game anyway. I think the Cowboys are, to me, the NFC equivalent to the Miami Dolphins, and I'll tell you why. They both do very well against teams that they're supposed to beat, and they stomp teams that they're supposed to beat with losing records. But when they play a team that is a full team, like when the Cowboys played the Niners, it wasn't a matchup. Everyone was talking about like, oh, this is going to be a good game. It was not a good game. Niners absolutely demolished the Cowboys. I don't think the Eagles will do the same, but I think they definitely win this game, and I'm picking them to win.
Yeah, great to see Julio Jones getting into the end zone last week for Philadelphia. Wide receivers aplenty in this one. CeeDee Lamb going off for career highs last week against the Rams. We obviously know what A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith bring to the table. Absolutely going to be a fantastic night of football. Or this is, I guess, the fourth 25 game. This should have been Sunday Night Football. But let's roll. I agree.
That's a good one for Sunday night, though.
True. And we'll get to that next. But the Eagles will roll in this one. I agree. I don't know 20 to 80%, and that brings us to Joe Shiesty taking on Josh Allen in Cincinnati. The Bengals swept the NFC West this year, but that is their only 4 wins. They sit at 4-3 at the bottom of that great AFC North, tied with Pittsburgh and with the Browns, who we both think will get wins this week, trying to keep pace with those 6-2 Ravens. Can they do it against Josh Allen and the Bills?
Yeah, I'm super excited for this game. Obviously, the Bills not having a very convincing season, but they still have a solid record. Bengals starting off really badly, but they might be the hottest team in the NFL right now. Joe Burrow looks so good. I think he had his best game of the year against one of probably the best team they've played all year. It was cool. Joe Montana in the crowd watching Joe Burrow. That's why they call him Joe Cool. Yeah, it's cool to see that. I think I like I'm riding with the team that's hot right now. I'm riding with the Bengals, but this is going to be a really good game. And if Josh Allen could figure it out and play like we know he can, I would not be surprised to see a Bills win either.
Yeah, I mean, it's under the lights in Cincinnati. Sadly, the last time that this game was under the lights in Cincinnati, we had the Damar Hamlin injury at the end of last year. He is now back and healthy, which is great. It's going to be great to see the crowd and what reception they give to him. But I think nobody's playing better right now than Joe Burrow after that. I mean, granted, they had the bye week, but going into the bye week, through the bye week and last week in San Francisco, he is just so fun to watch. And he does something that I didn't really notice too much until actually I watched Will Levis play. And the reason that is because Will Levis just decided, screw it, I got a great wide receiver down there, I'm just going for it. And the difference between Will Levis and Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow is a way better quarterback. But he still can do that.
Jamar Chase is better than DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't. That's a tough one for sure, but I'll give it to you. And at least from a hands perspective, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. No, I mean, maybe if you asked a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have said that. But yeah.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I mean, they're both just so amazing, and the fact that he's just doing that with so much confidence, his ability to move it around in the pocket looks fantastic. Against San Francisco, he evaded, I think, on one play, like 3 different sack attempts from that defensive line of San Francisco. His calf looks perfectly fine. I think he's going to be wheeling and dealing in this one. I like Cincinnati to get the win under the lights as they look to chase the Ravens down. The Jets, sitting at 4-3, maybe can chase the Dolphins down as they have a 3-game winning streak. They welcome in the Chargers into MetLife. But again, they played a game last week where they won in overtime, when they had 24 punts and 2 fumbles and 2 missed field goals, and the other team had -9 passing yards. I think the Chargers and Justin Herbert will have more than -9 passing yards. Do you think the Jets can win if that is the case?
I think if that's the case, no. I think the Jets have a chance here. They're on a 3-game winning streak. Holy crap. What a weird season they've had. They started so high with Aaron Rodgers and then so low with those bad few losses while Zach Wilson figured out how to play again. Zach Wilson is playing okay the last few weeks, but he's really not doing anything that special. I feel like the coach has kind of just sat him down, like, don't try to do too much, just stop turning the ball over. And he's done that. He's only got 1 interception in the last 5 games. Like, fair play to him. That's really good for your team. He knows that he's got a good defense, so if he could just not hurt the team, then they might be able to win games. Chargers coming off that solid win against the Bears. They're another team that is doing okay, but just can't seem to beat teams with a winning record. They are playing a team with a winning record right now, but it's the Jets, and I think they get their first win against a team with a winning record. I think Zach Wilson's kind of due for a bad game, and I think the Chargers win this one.
Yeah, this one is always so tough because it's kind of like Pittsburgh in a way. When a team is so heavily reliant on their defense, because not just because their defense is so good, but because of how poor their offense is, you just never know where to go with it, because you could see them not score any points and still win, which is exactly what they did against the Giants. And you can see them score no points and get blown out like they did 30-10 against the Cowboys. And you just don't know where it's going to go. Brandon Stanley, whatever his name is, over in for the Chargers needs to go. He's on my list. He was after Josh McDaniels. He needs to go. He just needs to go. I don't know what you want to do. He just needs to go. They have way too much talent to be performing year in, year out the way they do, blowing games. And I can totally see a pick 6 ending this one with a Jets victory. Jets only lost their 2 losses outside of the Cowboys loss, 3 points to the Chiefs and 5 points to the Patriots, all in low scoring affairs. And I will roll with the Chargers with you on this one. I don't like it, though. I don't think it's going to be 60-30%. I'm thinking a field goal wins this if it's not a pick 6 for the Jets. And so we'll roll Chargers on Monday Night Football there at MetLife. But I tell you, I don't like it.
Honestly, if you would have came at me strong saying you like the Jets strong,
I can't pick Zach Wilson. I can't pick Zach Wilson.
I wasn't gonna argue with you, but if you're gonna let me pick the Chargers, I'm gonna.
I already picked the Raiders. You want me to pick the Jets this week? What are you talking about? I can't do this. This is killing me. I swear. I don't know what's happening this year, but it's hurting my soul. Some of these games, I swear. But anyway, those are our picks. 11-5 last week. Let's go. Let's hope we can keep it going. 14 games this week. All our picks on ESPN.com. What a great week of sports we've had. College football rankings came out. End of the trade deadline. MLS playoffs still going. NBA tournament coming in for the first time in season tournament. NHL still kicking and going strong. College football first playoff rankings. Buckeyes atop of the rankings there. EPL heating up. Carabao Cup midweek. El Clasico as well last weekend. We have Copa Libertadores Saturday. Boca Juniors versus Fluminense in the final. Cavani versus Marcelo. Going to be great. So enjoy all of the sports this weekend. And until next time, thanks for watching.